Hi, thanks for joining me today. We're going to work some factoring problems using the bottoms-up method with trinomials. I've got it listed out here in a stepwise process. The first step, multiply a times c. So over here, I have the basic form of any quadratic equation, or formula, sorry. It's ax squared bx plus c. So taking a times c would be 2 times negative 15, which will give me negative 30. Step 1. Step number 2, I need factors of a and c, which was negative 30, that add to get me b. The letter b is negative 7. So I need two numbers that multiply to give me negative 30. And when I add them together, I get negative 7. Let's start with 1. 1 times 30. But now I know I need a negative number here. So to determine which of my two factors are negative, take a look at letter B. Whatever sign B has, that's what the largest factor has to also carry. If I were to add 1 and negative 30, that would give me negative 29. So the largest number has to be the same sign as the letter B. So 1 and 30, they don't work. Let's try 2. 2 times 15. Again, make the 15 negative. So that way when we add it together, it will give me a negative answer, which doesn't work. So let's try 3. 3 times 10. Put the 10 as a negative. So 3 times negative 10 gives me negative 30. Add them together, and indeed, I have negative 7. So my factors are 3 and negative 10. That was step 2. Step 3, this is the one we can't forget. Because we multiplied a and c, we have to undo that multiplication. So we're going to divide each of those factors by a. So the a term was 2. So 3 divided by 2 and negative 10 divided by 2. Great. Let's throw these into parentheses as we get ready for our final answer. Anytime you want to list something in factored form, it should be set in parentheses. X plus 3 halves, that was one factor, times x minus, it's minus because of that negative 10, 10 over 2. Okay, 10 over 2 is kind of special. As I look at that, I know what 10 divided by 2 is. 10 divided by 2 is 5 over 1. So we need to reduce those factors if possible. We can either reduce it here in step 3, or we can reduce it as we get ready to write our final answer. All right, by definition, the bottoms-up method, we take the bottom number, or that denominator, and pull it up with the x. Bottoms up. Bottom number up with the x. So 2x plus 3. That's one factor times. So because I reduced 10 over 2, 2 is no longer the bottom number, it's 1. And what happens when I take 1 times x? I just get x. So x minus 5. And that is in factored form using the bottoms-up method. Not too bad. Let's try one more time just to make sure you've got the hang of it. To see the problem, I'm going to list out the ABC terms. So ax squared, bx, and c. Step 1, multiply by a times c. 4 times 7. Great, we love that step. Step number 2, factors of a times c that add to get me b. So factors of 28 that add to give me b, which is negative 29. All right, I see that b is negative, and I know that my largest factor has to be the same sign. So one of my factors has to be negative. Let's start with 1. 1's always a great place to start with. 1 times 28. Well, 1 times 28 gives me 28, great. But when I add them together, I do not get negative 29. So I'm going to take that negative and put it with my largest factor. But now I have a problem. 1 times negative 28 doesn't give me this positive number, so what can I do? Oh, I can make the 1 negative also. So both factors are going to be negative in this case. Negative times negative gives me that positive number that I want. When I add them together, indeed, I get negative 29. Great. Step number 3. Divide each factor by 8. So in step 1, we multiplied, so at some point we have to undo that and divide by a. So I'm dividing each one of these by 4. I prefer to reduce while they're up here in my table, so I'm going to reduce. 1/4 doesn't, but 28 over 4 does. 28 divided by 4 is going to give me negative 7 over 1. So my factors are 1 over 4 and 7 over 1. Let's throw them into parentheses as we get ready for our answer. X minus, because it was negative, 1/4, and x minus 7 over 1. So because I reduced it up here, I'm just going to pull that factor down into my answer. All right, last one, bottoms up. Denominator is that bottom number, pull it up. 4x minus 1 is a factor. Pull the 1 up, leaves me with just x minus 7. And that is the factored form. All right, so I want to do this just one more time just because it's so much fun. But we're going to do it when the lead coefficient is a 1. And I just want to show you how the bottoms up method still works even if the lead coefficient is 1. It works no matter what the lead coefficient is. A times C. This time the A value is 1. So 1 times 15 gives me 15. Step number 2, factors of 15 that add to get me B. And B is an 8. So it multiplies to give me 15 and adds to give me 8. Well, 8 is positive and 15 is positive, so this time I don't have to deal with any negative numbers. So I'll start with 1. 1 times 15, when I add those together, does not give me 8. 2 doesn't go into 15, strike 3. 3 times 5. 3 times 5 is 15, great. Add them together, I get 8. Those are my factors. Step 3, although this one's not really needed, divide each factor by A. A is 1. But if I still follow the same process, 3 divided by 1 is 3, and 5 divided by 1 is 5. So we love it when the lead coefficient's a 1. There's really not much else to do, but take my factors and put them in factored form. X plus 3 and x plus 5. And that's the bottoms up method for factoring trinomials. If you have any other questions, feel free to send me a message. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. Check out some of my others. And in the words of Albert Einstein, don't worry about your difficulties in mathematics. I can assure you mine are still greater. So all of us need that extra practice. Thanks. Have a great day.